my lifestyle. It's my lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Grounds Crew. Before we get started, as always, make sure you like and subscribe. Toss us a review. We appreciate your support. Gentlemen, it's good to have everybody back in the studio.
God, I fucking missed you.
Yes, I missed you. It's been weird. We kind of been very busy, and I was out last week, and you were out 2 weeks before that. Yep. We had John on. So, whole squad's back together. A lot to talk about this week. We are pretty much about 15 games or so left in the season. We're going to see a lot of like the playoff race is really coming down to the wire. Before we get started, though, I have just something that happened last night that I wanted to talk about from one Grounds Crew to another. Did you see this thing with the Orioles?
I heard about it, but I haven't seen the highlights of everything yet.
All right. So it's like the ninth inning and it's about to rain. So the Grounds Crew doing their job, hops on. They're like right behind the tarp, ready to toss it on there as soon as the game's over. The third base umpire, so their tarp's on the first base side. Third base umpire comes running over to the other side of the field and ejects the whole Grounds Crew. And they're like, "Get out of here! You're not doing your job right now." And like they're all like, just kind of like standing there awkwardly, like standing on top of the tarp essentially. And he's like, "No, get out of here!" And then the Yankees ended up winning the game. Like, so I guess it kind of made sense to not have them on the field, but I just felt bad for them because they all were like, "Oh shit, we have to just run off the field," and not even like the way they came in. Like they had to like run through like the right field gate, and it was so awkward. And they all kind of were just like, I guess so. As soon as game's over, pours, field gets soaked, and they're kind of just like, damn,
you screwed us.
Yeah. Yep.
So like, what's your take on it by the ump?
So I get it because there was like 30 people, and like they were in the field of play. Like not all of them were behind the tarp. Some of them were sitting on the tarp. Like it wasn't a good look. So I get it. Also, I get that they're trying to do their job. So maybe it's on them to kind of just be like ready to go at the gate, but not like where they were at. I don't know. I got what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
You know. But whatever. It is what it is. I just felt bad for them, and I wanted to talk about it because of the Grounds Crew.
Who's like? Does the ump run that moment?
Yeah, kind of. It's his. Like I guess he must be the crew chief probably, just based on how he was the one taking control of it. But yeah, I mean, it's also on them to like call the game. It's not the Grounds Crew. They kind of just offer their advice when it's like comes to the radar and the rain and stuff. But again, they're trying to finish the game 1 out in the ninth inning. Like guys, just wait it out.
Yeah, because I think that's an interesting thing because like you're saying, it ends up pouring after the game's over, and you have the situation where the Grounds Crew needs to protect the players for the next game, right? And it's not just about the Grounds Crew doing their job just today.
Right.
It's the extended job of, hey, are we going to get washed out of our next game because everything's all jacked up?
Yep.
I feel like there had to be middle ground there. I feel like there has to be like protocol that somebody effed up. Like there has to be some type of rule that already exists there that somebody like negated. Right. That the officiating crew felt like they needed to get everyone out.
Right. I feel like I've seen that before though. Like I feel like I've seen like some of the Grounds Crew on the field like
always.
Right?
I feel like this is normal. That's why I'm saying
that's
like,
why I wasn't that.
What was made them like go and say like you absolutely everybody gone.
Right.
Like was it because it was a big moment? Like it just odd.
It was odd. I don't know. It was an interesting thing. Just wanted to bring it up because it was like, what?
Try to kick this Grounds Crew off the field. Watch what happens to you.
No, heck no. These hands work. So, first thing I want to get into.
Second thing.
Literally. Yeah. You're right. Giants and Dodgers just clinched this week since we last had an episode. They haven't clinched the division, but they are clinched into the playoffs, whether it be wild card or division. Yeah. I saw a tweet recently of and we talked about it, like the odds coming into the season. The Giants were almost like dead last of are they going to make the playoffs?
I think they were projected to be like a 70-win team, and they were the first team to 90.
Yep. They are best team in baseball, and I'm definitely very excited. Looking at how the playoffs are going to shape up, it's very possible just based on how the NL wild card looks right now with the matchup being, as of this moment, the Dodgers would play the Cardinals. It should the Cardinals clinch, and then if the Dodgers win, then they would go on to play the Giants. So definitely two teams who I'm going to love to see in the postseason. And just kind of looking at everybody else's like magic numbers and stuff, the next people up that could potentially clinch are the White Sox, who we kind of knew is going to be a thing. The Rays after that, Houston. And the Yankees still have 16 games to go to like clinch. So it's going to come down to the wire for them. They have to play really good.
Yeah, I don't. Well, we've had this conversation before. The team that we said that was going to be the team that was going to get them is the team that I wanted the Aaron Judge trade to go through on. Was Toronto went out, got Berrios, Springer. I'm pretty sure. And Dennis, can you look up Springer's numbers? I'm pretty sure the last time I checked on Springer, he has almost 17 home runs or like 15 plus home runs, and he's only played in 60 games.
He's been
So
killing
like, it goes back to he's a center fielder with so much pop, and he missed so much of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Give us what it is.
17 home runs, 37 RBIs in 62 games.
What's his OPS?
Got to be close to 880.
Try 898.
So again,
Damn.
legend. So like that dude's been a stud, but he missed so much of the early part of the season, and then you take into account that they go and they get Berrios, and now all of a sudden I look at this Toronto Blue Jays team and I go, hold on a second. You've got 5 super legit players in your lineup every day.
Mm-hmm.
Super legit. Bo Bichette was an all-star,
Yep.
right? Springer has been incredible when he's played. His problem was he was hurt for the first half of the year.
Right.
You have a guy in any other year who would be an MVP, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who else am I forgetting? Who's
Hernandez.
No, who's their other second? Who's like their second baseman?
Kevin Biggio.
Biggio.
And somebody else on their team is actually their best hitter. Can you pull up the stats?
Marcus Simeon.
Simeon. Oh, yeah,
Simeon.
yeah.
Simeon's like been one of their best, and then you added Berrios. And what's happened in the second half? They've won.
Destroying.
They
got
beat
Robbie
up on
Ray,
the
who's
Yankees.
Very easily could be the Cy Young.
Yep. You beat up on the Yankees, and now you're sitting in a situation where they're going to be close to making the playoffs.
I mean, we kind of glossed over Teoscar, but he's batting .306 with 103 RBIs right now. So
that team is nuts. Again,
ridiculous.
so this goes back to the other thing about that division in general.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's numbers look stupid because it's accidental sometimes when you hit home runs in that division. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to play – how many games did teams play against each other? 18 games or something like that?
Yeah.
In your division?
Mm-hmm.
So you play 9 games at Yankee Stadium. You play 9 games, right, against the Red Sox. You play 9 games against the Orioles at where they play. Bro, you accidentally bop shots.
Yep.
And, like, I think that's one of the things that division, like, everybody hits because also everybody's slugging, everybody's everything is crazy.
Yep.
Like, how many dudes on Toronto, Dennis, have an OPS that's over 800?
It's got to be a bunch. And here's the thing, too. Like, if Toronto and the Yankees face off on the wild card, you're going to get Robbie Ray versus Garrett Cole. The top 2 Cy Young guys, in my opinion, for the AL. So that game's going to be epic, assuming the Yankees hold on.
But they're like, so how do the Yankees even enter the fold?
What was the benchmark you wanted?
Over 800 OPS.
They have 6 guys over 800.
That's freaking ridiculous.
Dude, this team looks like the one I wouldn't want to play.
Oh, definitely.
If I told you and you're an American League team and there's a team you don't want to play, it's the Toronto Blue Jays. You gotta be and their end of the season is
Pray for the Yankees, man.
magnificent.
Their last 3 series are against the Red Sox, Blue Jays, and Rays.
So like the Yankees are out, right?
That's tough.
The Yankees are out, and I'd have to assume all of them are in that situation. So even if they all
the Red Sox and Blue Jays and Yankees are all tied for the wild card right now.
I've loved this season.
It's
This
been so
season's
much
been
fun.
so much fun with so many things.
Yep.
And you know what? Maybe it's the fact that we have this amazing show that you guys show up and listen to all the time that we've had so much fun with it.
Yep.
But man, I mean, so many interesting storylines this year about everything that's going on. Yeah, I mean, listen, like the Yankees had that hot 12-0. Now they're back down to earth, and they're kind of in a dead zone. Now my question is, does Toronto right now, do they have the lead in the season series? Because really it's also going to come down, if they end up tied, Toronto would be in.
Ooh, I'm not sure about that.
So whoever has the season series would be the team that gets it. Right? So ultimately these games at the end of the year, even if you win against somebody else or things move around, if you finish with the same record as somebody but they have the season series against you, you're shot. You're SOL.
Right.
So like they're super, super, super interesting. But again, who would you rather play? If you were another team, would you rather go against the Yankees or would you rather go against Toronto right now?
Yankees.
I'd rather face the Yankees, 100%, right?
100%.
Like,
especially if your bats are hot and you may, like the odds are like their odds are there that you may not face Cole.
Yeah.
And you can go in there and just bop a couple hits.
Who are the other pitchers you're afraid of?
Nobody.
Right, Toronto.
They've been putting Andrew Heaney out there every week.
Toronto's going to go to a situation where they've got 2 legit guys who could pitch. Again, I've been having Dennis look for every stat in the world right now. But like Berrios, what's his? Why do I keep saying Berrios? I'm thinking the Jets right now. But with his number since he got traded to Toronto. Do we have split stats? I'm going to pull up split stats on him. But they made the trade for pitching, and that changes your outlook because now you're looking at it, and like Dennis pulled up, you got 6 dudes with an 800-plus OPS.
Yep.
Oh, comp that out to the Yankees. Who am I afraid of at the Yankees? Right? Like
their bullpen's been shaky too, so like.
But like an 800-plus OPS. Who's got an 800-plus OPS there?
On the Yankees?
3 guys?
Probably, yeah.
Right? Like, if I'm really, really, like, getting down into this, I don't think that there's that many guys that I'm really worried about.
I mean, listen, their top 3-4 pitchers there are Hyunjin Ryu, Robbie Ray, Jose Barrios. That's who you're going to see repeatedly in the playoffs. That's ridiculous.
Again, I think they're going to end up being the team. We called it at the All-Star break that's one of the teams we thought was going to make the move. I loved that they went out and got the pitcher that they needed to really solidify what they are.
Yep.
We talked about when Springer comes back around and is finally healthy, and he missed almost the entirety of the first half, and he's been there in the second half, and when he's been there, he's produced at an amazing level. Toronto's interesting. Toronto is super interesting. So, like, looking at the NL, I stand by. It's all the Dodgers. I love the Giants. I said last week on my individual show that this is the same thing as the Knicks from this past year in the NBA. They played at 100% effort all year, so they beat the teams who are coasting, right? Like, hey, tonight we're going to come out with 88% effort and we're going to sit a guy, and the Knicks won, and they won, and they won, and won. And then you get to the postseason, everybody's turned up to 100, and you just don't have the juice to do it anymore. I feel like that has to be, like the Giants when they go against the Dodgers. Like the Dodgers at this point, like, your biggest concern was the Padres, even at the All-Star break. Now, at this point in time, you've already clinched. You're still fighting for this last little bit, but who's beating you?
Yeah. I am definitely curious how the Giants transition to the postseason, and I think it's mainly because, and this is kind of why they've been thriving all these years, they've been having all their veteran guys like play to like what they should be at like their top end. So I am definitely curious if they have that other level, or have they just been playing this high quality baseball that is just going to continue on, and that's going to be enough to keep helping them win. But I do also think it's interesting, and I talked about this on my individual show. The St. Louis Cardinals have snuck their way into the second wild card spot.
Yes,
and they made their move at the deadline, getting Lester, which I think was big for them. And they've been swinging it extremely well, and everybody's just been playing good. And seeing the Mets play them this week, I also like really, it just kind of, I forgot about the fact that they have like 20 Gold Gloves between their entire team. And
I mean, that's a little unfair.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's a little unfair on counting that, though.
No, it is. That's the real number.
Yeah,
I know it is.
Many of them.
Yachty's got so many of them, and he's got like 19.
Fine. Arenado has.
Listen,
like
Arenado's been
Goldschmidt.
great. I think Arenado's one of the big, like, there was a lot of questions of, are Arenado's numbers inflated by playing in Colorado? Right. Mm-hmm. And there's always been that talk of how good really is a player. He got this. Arenado's been a stud. He has always been a great defensive player. Mm-hmm. He's put himself on the map that, he's a superstar player officially, because it's not just that he has those inflated numbers. He's that guy. Dennis has a smile on his face, like he's got something to drop on this.
What do you got, D?
So Yachty has 9 Gold Gloves, so that means there's only 11, which is still relatively high, I'd say, for the rest
I
of the
believe
team.
it's 8 with Arenado, 2 with Goldschmidt, and then 1 with O'Neill in left field. I believe that is the breakdown. But then also, like, the rest of their defense is solid. Like, you got Bader in center. You got Edman. Oh my goodness, I forget. I'm kind of getting their right fielder's name, but he's solid. And they like the team all around is just great defensively, which has helped them tremendously get them to where they are. And their bats have always been pretty good. So now the Cardinals also have a pretty difficult schedule down the stretch. They have the Brewers and the Padres back to back these next 2 series coming up, which could set them back more or put them ahead more. So,
but this also starts coming into those moments of what is a team still playing for?
Yep.
Right? And the question is when you get to the point, like, are the Padres still playing?
The Padres are only 1 game out of the wild card.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. All of these,
Everybody's
it's
tight.
amazing how many series are mattering.
But do you look at the NL right now and you look at those teams and go, they're really good?
Not really. They're all they
Like
all have a lot of flaws.
The Mets series against the Cardinals almost looks like they got lucky 2 out of 3 times.
Kind of, yeah.
Like,
Because they're also playing the Mets, who are
right,
just
who
so
just
hit or
can't get
miss.
out of their own way,
Yeah.
right? Like, but you still almost lost. And then, like, you look at last night, and it looks like, okay, they got beat up pretty good, and like it was a sizable lead. Well, down I think 7-3.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was 8-3 at that point. Alonso got robbed of a home run.
Yeah, that was
right
crazy.
with 2 guys on.
Yep.
So like that game, completely different vibe. There's all so like when I looked at when I look at the Cardinals, I just go. Right, the Padres to me still scare you because if they make it, you feel like they have some talent. They had that Tatis was gone for a little while. They have a good pitching staff. They haven't had the same issues that the Mets have had in terms of health. But man, like if you're on one of these teams, it's kind of like you expected to be there. If you know you're knocked out soon, are you shutting it down mentally?
I'm sure it's definitely crossing some guys' minds, but I mean, I feel like if you got like let's say 15 games just for fun, like Philly's only 3 back in the wild card.
Yep.
Cincinnati a game and a half back. Like I think most of these guys are going to be pushing till the very end just because of how close everybody is. If you take your foot off the gas, somebody's just going to get ahead of you just enough where you're going to come a game short at the end of the season.
But I guess my frustration is I keep hearing the Mets players talk about, we just need to get hot. And I'm like, you guys have been a losing team
For sure.
since June.
But the problem is they're not entirely wrong, as much as I hate that as a Mets fan, because it's just keeping us all on the hook.
I'm off the hook.
Listen, I'm totally disillusioned. I really am out of faith at this point. I've had a ton. I've been very positive.
Are you with me that Rojas is gone?
100%.
Like the day this season's over?
100%.
Gone?
Dunzo.
Deuces?
Gone. It's time.
He's not the guy.
He's not the guy. And I think they gave him whatever. They
A
have
year and a
short
half.
season, and listen, it's all good, but we need real leadership.
Ooh,
we need
damn. Sandy's not a real leader. Love that.
Well, Sandy's never supposed to be the GM anyway. That's the thing. He even admitted that. He's like, I was not supposed to be the GM. Like, I am supposed to be the president operations. Like, somebody else got to do the baseball stuff.
We again on my personal show, without you. One of my big points is the Mets need to blow it up because they have a problem that they don't tell the truth to themselves or others. They've got a culture issue. They're hiring bad people to do roles that are important for what this team is. There is too much in the management of the team that is broken. I don't even know if I can keep Sandy. Like I'm ultimately at the mind now that Sandy hired Callaway. Sandy was the guy who was involved in Beltran, right? Like Sandy hired these GMs who all got popped. Like Sandy, you're like when I start laying this all down, man, like you're that dude.
I don't disagree with you. I don't really care if he stays or not. I think it's a comfortability thing for Cohen. But I also am like,
I think he's comfortable now.
I agree.
Guys, if you watch the show Billions, would Bobby Axelrod continue to allow this to function? No, sir. No, Bobby would not.
I'm all for a completely clean house. Let's start fresh and go ahead. And because I think we do have a lot of the pieces. I think we still need some stuff in the offseason. And I hope Steve gets the right GM and opens up the pockets and go get some great players. But I'm out on the Mets this season, unfortunately.
I'm out. And Barrios has been better in the second half than the first half, by the way.
Yeah.
Pulled those stats up. 3.34 ERA in the second half, 3.48 in the first half. The biggest difference, though, is his strikeout to walk ratio was 3.68 in the first half. It's 6+ plus in the second half. He's just been more dialed in. He's been in the right zone. Again, Toronto is that team I'd be worried about if I'm anybody in the American League.
Yeah, they've been making a lot
top
of
to
noise.
bottom, they have everything. And then when you talked about the White Sox are one of the teams that are going to make it, they made postseason moves at the deadline.
Yep.
All right, we're going to go out. We're going to lock down our bullpen. We're going to make sure we're ready for these games where every run matters. And, fifth inning, you're pulling your starting pitcher because you're going to a dominant bullpen.
And listen, they have two guys at the top of their rotation that are easy Cy Young
Studs.
candidates.
Right.
So, and they'll probably get Houston in the first round, which I think will be a great matchup.
Great. Houston's so seasoned in the playoffs at
Yep.
this point that, you can't discount them as a team. You're going to have to bring the noise every single time.
Yep. And I think they're kind of they're a similar team to the Giants in that way of having so much playoff experience. I think they're a little bit younger, have a little more high end upside with some of their talent, especially with Correa and Altuve. But we'll see there. I'm super curious what your thoughts are for Cy Young picks, and the reason I'm curious about that is especially because of the NL, because there are ridiculous numbers at the top. Do you have an opinion on who stands out to you?
Honestly, especially this year, I feel like more so than the shortened year where everybody was like, who should it be? That year, I still think DeGrom got hosed. He should have been the guy. He was playing against the harder level of competition comparable to the other guys when you look at who they were pitching against.
Yep.
Guy like Trevor Bauer, he already this year before he got axed and wasn't allowed to play the rest of the year. The dude was not the pitcher he had been the year before when he was playing in one of the weakest rotation divisions out there. The Mets were playing against the AL East and the NL East.
Yep.
DeGrom was having to go against legit dudes. My thing with this year is there's so many guys who are all having really, really good seasons, and you could make me an argument of why any of them are the guy.
Yep.
My only thing I would say to you is the only guys who I would not choose are any guys who were spider tag guys, because we can't forget that.
You're right.
Like a guy like Garrett Cole is out. You can any number you want to show, anything you want to do, right? Some of your numbers this year are fake. Numbers for your first month
It
of the
was
season.
early on. It was definitely
But some
early.
so you had 4 or 5 starts that are fake.
Yep.
Right. So if I can chuck those out, and then all of a sudden your ERA goes up by a 0.25 to a 0.5, I got to make that's what you were, right? I can't listen to what you were before that. That's my only thing. Other than that, there's too many good performances this year for me to even say I have any clue, because there's so many people who I would be like, Lance Lynn. Everybody's like, ooh, Lance.
Yeah.
Does he deserve it because it just kind of came out of nowhere? What's your thoughts?
Oh, I totally agree with you. It's so hard, especially for me. The AL I think is a little bit easier. I want to lean towards Robbie Ray on this one. I think he hasn't been in the topic of has he been cheating? Has he been doing whatever? And I think it's similar to a Lance Lynn of he's always been pretty good, but now he's having this electric year, and it's all right. This is your time to shine. You've been doing all the good stuff, and you're actually putting it out there. You're the guy. I don't know. Him and Lance Lynn are definitely up there for me. I don't have it as Cole because it's kind of tarnished for me as well.
Well, so I pulled up Cole's numbers between first half and second half.
Okay.
And second half he's a 2.9 ERA. First half he was a 2.68. The other thing that changed is in the first half his strikeout to walk was a 5.3. In the second half, where am I at? Oh, excuse me. His strikeout to walk in the first half was a 6.68. In the second half, it was a 5.1. So he's walking more people comparable to how often he's getting the strikeouts, which again, your control isn't what it was before. The runs are up, right? All the batting average against is up. The on-base percentage is up. Your slugging percentage is up. OPS is up. Now listen, Garrett Cole is still one of the best pitchers in the game.
100%.
Right? But to me, Garrett Cole's out.
Yep.
I can't. You can't take the whole thing together. I got to look at him as a second half guy, and he's close to a 3, which is nice. But Lance Lynn's looking at a 2.5 ERA, 10-4 on the season, pitching for White Sox who were not necessarily going to be considered that team before the year started, and now they're that team. So I have to give it to him that he's doing it in that moment that matters.
Yeah. And I think I am still going to lean more towards Robbie Ray on this one, also because of the competition he faces more consistently, and he's got them in ERA, he's got them in Ks. Like,
well, so
Robbie
Lance
Ray
Lynn's got a better ERA.
I think it's because he missed time that it's not. He's not like
eligible.
I think that's what it is.
So that's my thing. Is he going to be eligible by the time the season ends, or will he not be eligible by the time the season ends?
I'm not sure how many starts he has left.
Because that's always the
How many
tricky
starts
situation.
has he had? Do you have that up?
25 starts
For Lance Lynn?
Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right. So that's still pretty
He's
solid.
got 140 innings pitched, though. Right?
Okay.
And then you look at a guy like Robbie Ray, and Robbie Ray's got 177. So that's my point. Like,
Yeah.
what's really the difference? So Robbie Ray has a higher WAR, but his WAR is more because he played more games.
Right.
So ultimately, he had more opportunities to accumulate what that was. He has more innings. He has more everything else. Robbie Ray's got 233 strikeouts in those 170. Lance Lynn's only got 160 in the 140. So again, Robbie's got him in strikeouts. I'm with you, probably Robbie Ray. Looking at the whole body of work, the challenge to me is it goes back to the same thing. I think one of the things when we're looking at the stats and we're looking at everything else is you do have to weight things based off of what it meant. Right? Mm-hmm. And ultimately, like the White Sox are wire to wire, have been a really good team. They've been in that moment. And when is the time where you get pulled out of a game or you have this happen or you have this happen? Because winning matters so much early, right? And you have other teams who, hey, we went through the beginning of the year, we were okay. But, like, you know what? Like, I got to stay out there and I got to do more because winning wasn't as big of a deal.
Right.
Now we're in the race. Now it's important. Guys who year-round are having to play like every game is like we got to win as many games as possible. I feel like the stats are always going to be different. And this is the Mike Trout, Mookie Betts thing that we've talked about multiple times on the show.
Yeah, and I think it is too. Like you're saying, like their division. Like yes, they were like before the season even started, we knew they were the best team.
Yep.
And their division's always the softest.
Yeah.
It's always like easy to win pretty much. And I agree with you. Like, if you look at the other guys, even in the NL, for example, the top 5 guys in ERA are Scherzer, who's been on the Dodgers for half the season.
But that's my thing. He was on a bad Nationals team.
Yeah, but
right?
they were still like sort of in the hunt, right, in the early
Sure,
part of the
sure.
season. But I agree with you. Scherzer, fine. Corbin Burns they got to win.
Yep.
Buehler.
Yep.
Woodruff. Gausman. They all knew that they needed to win.
Who's your NL?
Ooh. I'm definitely leaning towards Buehler, but it's close for me. It's close for me between Buehler, Gausman, and Zach Wheeler, and I feel like Zach Wheeler's getting overlooked a lot because his ERA is not as crazy.
Again, you play half your games are in the smallest park in the National League East.
Yep.
So like you're gonna have some moments where you end up letting up stuff that I don't know is the same. The only thing I'll say about Buehler and why I would give it to Buehler,
his ERA is still a 2.86,
which is amazing.
Like,
but what's Buehler's?
Buehler is a 2.32.
He's a 2.32, and he's in the same division as the San Francisco Giants and the Padres.
Yep.
So ultimately, when I look at the weight of the entire thing, not only is your team one of the top 5 teams in all of baseball, not only is your team the second team to clinch overall, even though you're in a division where the first team that clinch is ahead of you, and they're in your division, so that's insane. I think it's just too much. It's too much there that Buehler deserves it.
Yeah.
And the shame of everything is going to be, and this is like truly what we all are going to have missed out on, is the best pitcher of this season was none of the people who are going to win.
And who's your pick for that?
The best pitcher on the season was Jacob deGrom.
That's true.
And he's got a 1.06 ERA and almost 100 innings pitched.
Yep.
And he has a 5 WAR, which is better than Lance Lynn's WAR. And he has pitched 50 less innings.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
He had 146 strikeouts in 92 innings.
It was
he
ridiculous.
was on pace for over 300 strikeouts this year as a start. So again, like as good as we just said Robbie Ray is, he was dusting Robbie Ray's strikeout rate.
Or he was dusting everybody. He was putting together, like, if he finished the season with whatever pace he was for everything.
Yeah.
If he finished the season with 30 starts, it was top could possibly be the best season ever. Like he could have finished. With absurd numbers.
His ERA plus is a 370, right? So to put that in perspective, Robbie Ray's ERA plus is 167.
Yep.
Robbie Ray's FIP is a 337. Jacob deGrom's ERA FIP is a 1.23. So like, it's not close. Again, and that's the downside. I know Jake's hurt and everything else. We watched potentially the best pitch history, and you're not going to put this in the Gibsons and the Pedros and the everything else because of the injury that popped up.
I think I could see if like sometime down the road there being like a documentary or something about like the greatest season that never happened. Kind of
Why
thing.
not us?
Why not us?
Why not us?
Why not us? Stay tuned, I guess. And while we're talking about stuff that people should win but won't be winning, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is working on a possible triple crown.
Yep.
And he is not going to win the MVP, at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
and that's insanity.
I've seen a lot of stuff about Vlad. It's one of the best hitting seasons in history.
Mm-hmm.
He's got over 1,000 OPS. He's got 45 home runs, which I'm pretty sure leads the league now.
That does lead the league.
Yeah, he's been incredible, and he's been everything that he was ever supposed to be at the ripe old age of 22 years old. Again, I think that right now in the league, to say who the best outfielder who's under the age of 24 is very difficult, especially with Tatis moving to the outfield now. You have Tatis in the outfield, Soto, Vlad Guerrero, Acuna. Go ahead, pull up Soto.
No, Soto's having a great year, but Vlad, one second.
Dennis had a face like I was crazy when I said the name Juan Soto.
Can you do me a favor while Dietz is pulling up these stats? Can you pull up Juan Soto's second half stats?
They're stupid.
So
They're
hold
ridiculous.
on. So I'm just giving you Juan Soto's entire year.
Sure.
Juan Soto's entire year, he has a 983 OPS, and we're thinking that he has a down year, age 22.
Yep.
He has 120 walks in 578 plate appearances.
Yep.
He has an on-base percentage of 457. His slugging is down, and he only has 25 home runs this year because they're pitching around him on a Nationals team where he didn't need to. Dietz, go ahead. Drop your knowledge, bud.
Vlad's an infielder.
When did Vlad switch? What?
He
He's
plays
never been
first.
the
I thought he was always playing.
No, you're
outfield.
thinking of senior.
Bro, I'm drunk. I thought they said he got too big and they moved him to the outfield.
No, they got him too. He's got too big and moves into first base.
My Lanta. So yeah, you're right, guys. Not enough coffee.
Not enough coffee. It happens.
Not enough coffee for me in the year of 2021. It seems because there's just things I'm out here.
But yes,
knowing
Soto's
whatsoever.
been ridiculous in the fact that he's not even in the
So
conversation.
you said
for
first
MVPs.
half, second half. That's what you wanted to pull up on.
Yeah.
1174 OPS, a 650 slugging. His on base percentage has been 524.
That's the second half.
That's the second half.
What's his average?
His average in the second half?
Yeah.
361. So again, before the season started, he was my guy that I looked at and I said Soto might be the best player in the game, and Soto's got Barry Bonds vibes. That second half is the Barry Bonds vibes.
Yep.
Right.
The
and
walk numbers, the Barry Bonds vibes.
The walk numbers, absolutely. I mean, he in 56 games he played in the second half, he has 62 walks. So he's walking better than once a game.
Yep.
Right. So and that, again, his on base percentage is 524. What was Barry's like on base percentage in those like nutty years?
The 150 walk years.
Like what were like those big numbers? So he had 132 walks in 126 games. So that's Barry Bonds. Soto is Barry Bonds. Only he's not early Barry Bonds. He's late Barry Bonds at 22.
Yep.
Oh my God.
I'm
calling it right now. MVP of the league next year, Juan Soto. I'll call it today.
That's
he
very
was
reasonable.
He was one of my guys for it this year. It's Juan Soto.
That's so crazy. Barry had 230 walks in 2004.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's absurd.
Well, so
and he batted 360.
His OPS was 1.422 that year too.
Oh my lord.
So so in the year that he walked 232 times in
And
2004,
Albert Pujols existed that
his
season.
on base percentage was 609. So, what did I just say that Soto's is in the second half?
4 or something?
No,
higher?
562
something?
or something like that. That would be the second best on base. That would be the third best on base percentage for Barry Bonds in his career. And the times that were over it was the year after he hit 73 home runs, because everybody just decided we're not going to let you hit 73 home runs anymore. But his OPS in 2004 was 1422.
It's gross. It's gross.
So again, when people are like, "Oh man, Mike Trout is so good," just remember, he's not in the top 10.
Yep. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
It can play out however it wants. Now.
I do think, and like, I love watching Soto too, because it's very interesting how he's gotten even better as the season's progressed. And like you're saying, he could easily be an MVP candidate next year, and probably every year he plays, just because of if he continues to layer on and just get better, it's going to be absurd how good he is.
So then let's add this. Let's throw this on the pile.
Sure.
Did they get rid of Trey Turner so that they can offer Soto in this offseason the Tatis contract?
I don't think they're offering money yet, to be honest with you.
If they don't sign the Tatis contract, is he a New York player?
It's a great question, Bill. I think he has a couple more years of arbitration and stuff before it even would come up.
For sure. But he's rapidly approaching it. He's been up. This is his 4th year.
Let's find out.
And he has enough plate appearances in his rookie year for him to qualify as that being a full season.
Oh, definitely.
I believe, right? Unless he was a later call-up. He played 116 games in 2018. If you play 116 games and that didn't count as a full season towards your eligibility, MLB is broken.
Bro, he has 3 years of arbitration.
Like, that's nuts.
It's crazy.
So that means that they didn't count his 2018 19-year-old season. They didn't count that.
You know what? It's probably whenever they brought him in.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he played 116 games, and he had a 923.
And they finessed it just
and they had
enough.
a 923 OPS. He had 494 plate appearances and 22 home runs as a 19-year-old, and they didn't count that season.
Yep. It's broken.
F baseball, man.
It's broken.
That is so broke. So yeah, like force your trade to the Mets, right? Like force the trade to the Mets. I'll give you everything that I was going to give for Trout, and I'll sign you for $40 million a year.
I would love that. I would love to see Juan Soto in right field.
Oh my God, he wants it, right? We talked about this earlier in the season with those tweets that he had to.
I don't know.
He had to apologize for some stuff. He had to take things down. He had to move stuff around. Like there was a lot of finesse. And now they're not offering him this money. Like, how do you not offer Juan? Like, Juan Soto has been.
I mean, he's definitely the guy that they at least are showing that they want to build around.
Are they?
They moved everybody off the team except him.
Because how do you trade him? What's the value?
The moon.
But what? So my point is, what team offered the moon this season?
Well, I mean, in the scheme of all the trades, like the Dodgers gave the closest to the moon with their highest rated pick.
But my point is, for the moon, they got Trey Turner and they got Scherzer.
Right.
And when you look at Trey Turner, all he's been is a borderline MVP candidate, and he's moved off position and still bat 315 plus for the Dodgers. And
so a Cy Young and a possible MVP candidate was worth two top tier players.
Yes.
So
what is a guy who is still cost controlled for 3 more seasons?
Yeah.
Yes, 3 more seasons. Who at the end of that will only be 26.
What is that worth?
But that's my point.
So you traded Trey Turner you had 1 more year of control.
But there is no way in the world any team had the cachet who was still in it to make a trade then.
Right.
And then any team who wasn't in it, why would you do the trade in the middle of the year? Right? You wouldn't. So like they couldn't trade Soto. So there's got to be 2 things that have to happen. You have to sign him to a Tatis this offseason, or that's the red flag to me that he doesn't want to be there, or they don't think he wants to be there, and he wants to move on, and he wants to go to a place he wants to go to.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think he follows in Harper's footsteps?
I am curious. So Harper was that guy for Washington.
Right.
and Harper left.
That is the thing I feel like people are like forgetting.
That
is that Harper was the phenom. He was the king. Like he
and
came
Harper
up
still
was supposed
sells
to be
more
God.
jerseys than anybody else.
Yep.
He's in the MVP conversation this year. He's only 28 years old, and he was allowed to walk a couple of years ago by this team. Same exact circumstances.
Yep.
So if anybody's thinking that it's crazy that Juan Soto is not going to be a national in 3 years, you are not paying attention to history.
Yep.
And you want to talk about guys who love being nationals and didn't want to go. Scherzer accepted being a Washington National more than anything else. The guy, hey, bud, we're going to trade you. We'll see you later. Trey Turner. Trey Turner is coming up on a contract as one of the best shortstops in the game, and you moved him. Like, he's not old. How old is Trey Turner for me, Dennis? Like, Trey Turner is not an old player.
I want to say like 26 maybe.
He might be
Not
28. Even if he's 28,
Yeah.
You're a 28-year-old guy who's still cost controlled. Like, it's the Daniel Murphy situation.
He's 28, just turned 28 in June.
Cool.
Okay.
So this was his age 27 season, right? That's how baseball does that stuff.
Right.
So in his age 27 season, you traded him, and you have control of him still.
Yep.
You're telling me you don't anticipate being a team that's competitive next year. So now this comes down to, but when you had money and we didn't have a pandemic, you were willing to let Bryce Harper walk. And you only let Bryce Harper walk for $29 million a year. Is that what he's making?
Yep.
28,
Something like that.
$29 million a year.
Yeah.
So you were allowing Bryce Harper to walk for what amounts to not that much money. You're now seeing an escalating amount of money, and you just showed me that your team wasn't really making bank post after the
Not even 26.
Huh?
26.
$26 million. So you let Bryce Harper, MVP candidate, walk for $26 million a year. You now have Lindor. Lindor is not as good of a player at the time he signed in terms of fandom as a guy like Harper. He might have been a better player, but he wasn't bringing butts to seats like Harper was.
Right.
And what did Lindor sign for? $34 million, $340 million over
Yeah.
10 years.
Yep.
So you are paying $8 million more a year for Lindor than they are paying for Bryce Harper. What is Juan Soto going to want by the time you get to that level? And I just don't see now the Nationals even pulling that trigger.
Do you think Juan Soto is a better player than Harper was
Yes.
at this point in his career?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So you think he's going to command more money than Harper?
Absolutely.
What would you pay him for a 10-year deal?
For what's Trout's deal?
Something in the 40s. I
Whatever Trout's deal is, that's a deal I'm giving Juan Soto. And that's including the fact that I'm
think.
buying
Mike
out.
Trout gets 35 a year.
But he signed for how many years?
12.
So he ended up getting the $400 million over 12 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm signing Juan Soto to the deal that allows me to reasonably pay him $35 million a year for the next decade and change.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now was his age 22 season. Let's assume that he ages better than a guy like David Wright.
Yeah.
Okay?
I could see that
David's
happening.
last real time that he played a lot of games, he was 32.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 10 years from now. And let's assume because the universal DH is going to be in place, that Soto's going to get an opportunity to relax his body a little bit more and just go be a savage in the box, right? Soto at that point in time is going to play at least at a high level till he's 35
Easily.
with how good his hit tool looks,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I signed him for $12 million a year this offseason at $35 million a year, that's a $420 million deal. I would do that tomorrow. What has he shown you that makes you think, oh, you know what? Like, I should do something else. I shouldn't give him that deal.
No, absolutely nothing. I totally agree with you. And also, the fact that he is an outfielder, for his sake, the ceiling...
Unlike Vlad Guerrero Jr., who is not an outfielder.
Who is not an outfielder, that's correct.
Who
The fact
doesn't
that he
know that?
is an outfielder allows him to say, hey, these comparable players have way higher contracts. I want this money. Whereas Lindor setting the bar where he did, I actually don't think any shortstop that signs this offseason is going to get something even close to that. I think that was way out of what – if the Mets had actually waited to this offseason to put together that contract, I don't think it would be anywhere near what it is, especially because like the first shortstop who's even been offered a deal was Correa, and they offered him like I think it was 4 or 6 years, $160 million. So if that's where they're starting, I don't think it goes over $250, to be honest with you.
Trout's rookie year, when he was 19, he had a 220 batting average, a 281 on base percentage. He slugged 390 for a 672 OPS. He then has gone on a tear where he's been one of the better players in the league for an extended period of time.
Sure.
Elite, everything else. His first 1,000 OPS season was 2017. He made his break into the league in 2011. Soto has a 1,100 OPS season on the books already, and this second half has been similar to what his entirety of 2020 was. Actually better this year in terms of on-base percentage, but worse in terms of slugging. Soto looks like the better hitter between him and Trout. Now, I'm not saying better player necessarily, because Soto is not necessarily as diverse of an athlete as Trout was at his prime. Young Trout running in the outfield, snagging balls over the wall, doing all the stuff.
Right.
But Soto's bat is comparable at minimum to what Trout's is. And with that being the case, like, how are we not paying him with how much offense premium there is? And he's been playing in a league where he doesn't get to take a rest and just swing. Right? Trout wants a day where he wants to rest his legs. They could always DH him. How much does that help a guy's batting average over the course of the year? Well, I could have 5, 6, 7 times where I DH. Right? Is that all the time? No. But that's enough times that you go, yeah, Juan Soto to me is truly special. The second half is proving it again. He's another guy who woke up in the home run derby. Pete Alonso woke up in the home run derby. Juan Soto woke up in the home run derby. So much for everybody saying that the home run derby breaks swings. It
when you're a pure power hitter, it
opened up a bunch of guys. Yeah. I get to in front of fans have to hit as hard as I can, and I get some confidence built back up on myself. Let's go.
Yep.
Juan's that guy. Early pick. But Vladdy,
that's going to be so interesting.
This circles all the way back to Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Yeah.
And reality
being
is
an infielder.
Being an infielder. Remember that, guys. Ohtani is the guy. It has to be the guy. I tweeted last night, like, Ohtani could have stopped playing 3 weeks ago, and he's a unanimous MVP candidate. Like, I don't care. Like, you can have anything you want. What he's doing as the pitcher for that team and what he's had to do to carry that team alone. Vlad has got studs everywhere protecting him. The two best players coming into the season for the Angels haven't played.
Yep.
Rendon and Trout have taken a vacation this year.
Yep, and Trout's done for the year, unfortunately. Now that's official, which sucks. We talked about that.
Which is why he's my least favorite player in baseball.
I know. And it sucks, too, because I know we talked about this pre-show, and I want to make sure we get into it. Like, Salvador Perez isn't even getting any love.
Sally has gotten no love.
He'll be like third or fourth in MVP voting, and it's ridiculous. He has 44 home runs. He's about to set the record for most home runs by a catcher in a single season, and he's just going to get glossed over. He's going to get like third, fourth votes in MVP, and we're just going to call it a year. And it's unbelievable what he's doing.
So then here's my question. We'll give him some love right now, and we'll run this up the flagpole for you. Who would you rather have? Peak Salvador Perez, peak Mike Piazza.
What's peak Mike Piazza statistically?
Peak Mike Piazza is stupid good. Peak Mike Piazza, his best season actually was his 1997 season with the Dodgers. He had a 1,070 OPS, and he hit 40 home runs. Salvador Perez this year has an 865 OPS, but 44 home runs. In my mind, I know the answer. The answer is I'd rather have Mike than Sally, because even looking at it like objectively, Salvador Perez in his 10 years in the league, his batting average is 270. Mike Piazza in his 1.5 million years in the league, his batting average is 308. So that includes the fact that you have 35, 36, 37, 38-year-old Mike Piazza and 37-year-old Mike Piazza playing for the San Diego Padres, played in 126 games and hit 22 home runs with an 843 OPS. Piazza's so damn good, and we forget about it.
So good.
Such a great play. And, like, Perez is going
This is Perez's best year, actually.
This is Perez's best year from a home run standpoint.
No, in general.
No, his OPS in 2020 was 986.
Shortened year, but fine.
I'm with you. Listen,
1,000%. But he had ridiculously more RBIs than he's ever had.
And
more
he's
home
hitting
runs.
above his average.
Yep.
Right? The
More
last time he
hits.
was a high batting average guy was when he was younger and he didn't have the pop.
Right.
And then as the league in 2014, he started switching from I'm a guy who has a high batting average to I'm going to try to slug the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, you see it. Home runs go from 2013, 13,
Yeah.
17, 21, 22, 27, 27, 11, 44.
Yeah, 11 in 37 games.
11,
right.
37 games, right.
So that was a guy who was on pace to try to hit another 40 home runs that year.
Yep.
Right? So, like, that's kind of my point. But to think about that, like, this Salvador Perez, like, I look at his numbers. I think that we, like he definitely should be in the conversation. But the only reason we're super, super excited about the numbers he put up is because he's a catcher.
Yeah.
If we bypass the fact that he's a catcher, has he been an MVP?
I mean, not in the AL this year.
I mean, even if but my thing is that if you really look at it, really we're now tying on to the fact that he's got the home runs.
Right, but that's still, I mean, he's slugging the shit out of the ball. Like,
Yeah, but 865 OPS. Like, if I pulled up who the OPSs are in the league, where is he actually at? Where does he sit into the actual power hitter numbers? Where does he line up? Because I would say that, like, just looking at a few different guys, we talked about George Springer before. George Springer's got an 898 OPS.
Right.
Right? Like, yeah, Springer hasn't played, but he's got 17 home runs in 60 games. So, like, Sally's numbers are amazing for a catcher, and I think that's, again, we go back, if Derek Jeter, his numbers look great because he's a shortstop, right? So, like, the position is leading us to believe that the season is X.
Right.
But we got to remember, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is an infielder, right?
Yes, he is.
Salvi's not in the top 10 in OPS.
So,
Okay.
again, for a catch, one of the greatest catching seasons ever, not better than Piazza, but up there.
Mm-hmm.
In that conversation. And one of the best that we've seen since a peak, maybe Buster Posey, or who's my man from Minnesota? Why am I blanking on his name now?
Joe Mauer.
Mauer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Amazing.
Killing
But not Vlad. Vlad's got the real argument for I'm about to put up all the numbers and get very few votes. He'll get votes from Toronto people.
Yeah.
He'll get votes from probably AL East people.
Yeah, I think it'll be, I mean, has there been, like, co-MVPs?
There deserves to be no co-MVP. No co-MVP is allowed. There is one person. It's not close. I will hear none of the blaspheming about anybody getting it with Ohtani. Because, again, it comes down to
I don't disagree with you.
It comes down to the balance of it. Ohtani has had to carry this by himself.
While doing
Vlad has been
foreseen
an
things.
amazing player.
Yep.
He has multiple All-Stars covering his ass every game.
Mm-hmm.
He plays in a division where you play on Little League fields. I love him. He's a stud. He's going to deserve to be in conversation. It's Shohei, and then it's everybody else. And I don't care. Shohei could go 0 for the rest of the year. You give him the MVP.
What is it? There's nothing more to say.
Nothing more
Guys,
to say.
thanks for listening to the episode. It's good to be back with the squad again. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave us a comment who you think is going to be MVP. Who do you think is going to be the Cy Youngs? Let us know in the comments.
And am I crazy about Juan Soto, MVP 2022?
Let us know. We'll see you next time.
Next time, guys.
Baseball lifestyle, it's my lifestyle.